guys, I'm Flight Mode. I am a DJ in Berlin. I started actually like when I moved to Berlin. It was kind of something that grew naturally. So I moved here in 2019, and like I was invited to play like in a rave. That's how everything began. So I didn't really plan to become like a DJ. Like I started with the first gigs, like small gigs, like for a while, until like around 2022, like I met like-minded people, which was like what was the change, I would say. We started doing parties together, and then like I created Orbit Berlin together with Goss, who is here.
Hello everyone, Chris, aka Goss here, and yeah, I moved to Berlin in 2015, basically pursuing my dream to make it in the electronic music world. Not only because of that, of course, but I mean for other reasons, but that was the main reason why I decided to come to Berlin, because I think back in the years, but still now, was the best city where you could succeed doing stuff like this, let's say, and focusing on producing and playing. Of course, that was never my primary goal, so I've never thought about like make a live out of that. Everything came pretty organically, I would say. I started playing and producing music when I was at the high school, less or more, playing mostly in private party or illegal rave. And then when I moved to Berlin, I met some like people with the same mentality that they helped me a lot to get into the nightlife world, let's say. I started to hang out with more and more interesting people that were into music, and they were showing me different music, different tracks and so on. And that's how my love for basically techno, mostly on the groovy hypnotic style, at work. After some years, I met Mr. here, close to me. And after we played together in some illegal or barely legal party, I would say. Barely legal party. We decided to found a collective, Orbit Berlin, and we started to host a party on a monthly basis. And we had so many good feedback, and everything started to grow more organically. We had more and more people coming to us, and now we are here doing what we love more.
I think we all started as clubbers first, like as I guess everybody that becomes a DJ in Berlin, like you know, comes here like for partying, for clubbing, and then like there is so many inputs, so many people like so many inspirations and so many inputs you get from people that in the end you end up doing the thing like that you like the most, which is like music. So I guess for both of us, like coming to Berlin was natural, and like and playing was, even if maybe like at first unexpected, was even more natural, because personally like I was surrounded by like artists or producers or people anyway like in the scene, and somehow like the first time I think like a friend of mine asked me to play in a rave close to Munich, I said yes, and that's how I started. From there, like things naturally like flew in the direction we are now, like with Orbit, and that's something like that makes me very happy, because I didn't really like force it. It's something that grew naturally and spontaneously up to the point it is now. So I would say that Orbit has been the conclusion, and something that we were like both looking for. Something like where you know you get visibility, but at the same time like you are part of something which is not bigger than just like you playing, because in the end like you are delivering something that you know where people like can recognize themselves into, can get inspiration from, and this is probably the fuel that we needed to progress in a very difficult career like here in Berlin, because I think like probably like you agree with me, but the difficulty of being in Berlin is like unlike other cities, you have like a lot of parties. So yeah, a lot of competition. So the difficulty is not like to make a party, but to make a party that stands out from like other like 200 parties which are pretty much like similar to yours. So the challenge for us was like, okay, what makes us special? What makes us like actually able to to have people coming to our parties more and more. And I think it's still a question which maybe like we don't have fully answered. I guess the answer is like to really like stick to like a music vision where like you feel connected to, and do not really like to yourself like be drawn by trends or things that like are not really like part of who you are and what you want to do.
And definitely also another important part is like put the ego aside and not trying to get a gig just to show off yourself, but also to let the people think, okay, I'm going to that party because I'm sure I will find this quality of music, this style of music. So that's the hardest part, you know.
I think putting the ego apart is like is the most difficult thing, because like when you like are own a collective, it's not just like you as a DJ, you know. So there have been times where like we all wanted to play because we are primarily like DJs, and like I think that the thing that you learn like over time is to really like think not like what is good for you, but what is good for the collective, you know. So even put yourself out of the equation, because like maybe it's not your time, because maybe like someone else hasn't played as much as you, and it's part of the collective as well. I think also the another part that for me is super important, for us is super important, is like really like the quality of our bookings. So like we really invest a lot of time in scouting, like in digging. We also have our own podcast series, which has been like really good in finding out artists which are like less seen than others, but still like are worth booking them for, you know. So that has been like sort of like pre-assessment that we do, and in many cases like has brought us to book them afterwards because we like their set. We like also like the people, because besides everything, like for us the most important thing is like that there are people are there is people and then DJs, you know. So you don't have to be an artist and then like forget that you're also like have to be a nice person, you know.
Definitely.
So all on, if we see and we meet someone like who is like nice, chill, like relaxed, and but also is a great artist, for us is like a big plus in saying, hey, like we can actually book him, and he can bring that energy, that vibe that helps the party being even better. Yeah,
instead of calling like the big names as many other people are doing, and then you end up having a lot of parties with the same 4 lineups with a different order, you know. I mean, of course, like the big names, they deserve to be there, like the quality, it's there, of course. But at the same time, how we started from nothing, from ground zero, with no helper, no connection, nothing. Like we did everything by ourselves. Like we started as a bedroom DJ. And the funny part, I think, we have like 2 different paths, also 2 different environments where we're coming from. Like I come from northern Italy, close to Milan, in Como. He comes from Sicily, from Palermo. So even the mentality of the people, the kind of party is completely different compared to what you can find here in Berlin.
Yeah.
Maybe in Milan might be more international, that for sure.
Yeah.
But with all the problems that Italy brings with that. So like early closing times, no permissions, no. Maybe it's too strong. I would say no freedom. Maybe it's a bit too strong because you have a certain amount of freedom, but not as much as you have here, where you can, go for a party for 24, 48 hours. And also the people are more into it. They want to go clubbing because of the party, because of the meeting people, where in Italy it's mostly like, let's go dancing that night because that big name is playing, and unless there is a big name, the club is empty. Because there is not so much. I mean, something has started, of course. There are some good collective. There are some people that you have to put here because they are doing the right job. But at the same time, it's different than here, where the people are going to the club just because it's the club. Doesn't matter who plays. Like imagine here, like there are a lot of clubs that they're not showing the lineup either. I moved here 10 years ago. Yeah, it was 2015, and everything was completely different. Or I'm not sure if everything was completely different or I was completely different. I was 10 years younger, so with a complete different mentality and so on. And also the party you were meeting at the clubs were your same age, less or more. Now I think, especially after COVID, we had this like turn back where we are not the oldest, but we start to be like the old people in the club. And so, I mean, I will never complain about the new scene, because at some point we have been the new scene. So I think that the older people than us, when we arrived to Berlin, they were complaining about us and about the style that we did love back in the days, because we were ruining the scene or we were bringing another vibe compared to what they were used to. But at the same time, I mean, new doesn't necessarily mean bad. And also, as you heard from many interviews from big artists around since 20-30 years playing music, it's also a passage thing. So also the new generation are getting into clubbing, maybe listening to more up-tempo music, hard things and so on. And then as soon as they're here, are getting more fine, they're gonna discover even old music, old tracks, and more quality, you know, or more creating themselves their personal taste.
And I think part of our responsibilities is also to, you know, as a collective, like is to show like what good music for us is, you know. So like the approach that I try to have towards new generation is that first of all, like these are the new, it's the fuel, you know, that will bring us like forwards. We already have, like, as you know, clubs that are closing in Berlin, and in general, like people go less and less dancing. So like once you are like on the other side, you understand the importance of like educating people to you know to party in the right way, to show like the right music that again it's outside of trends that might be like my last, but for a limited period of time, but eventually they will fade. And we had like, you know, not just like in electronic music, a lot of examples, you know, like of music styles, you know, that just existed and then stopped existing. So like I always consider Berlin, to be honest, as a happy island. I arrived not 10 years ago, but like 6. So right a year and a half before COVID, and I mean, for me Berlin was always like, you know, like the city was the Luna Park, you know, because coming from a city and from a country where, you know, there is not really clubbing culture, you know, so clubbing feels different, is different in general, you know, the way that people approach clubbing, approach like everything like around it is just doesn't resonate the same way than here. So I could go anywhere else, like even in Ibiza, but still like Berlin is Berlin. And probably, yes, it did change in a lot of ways compared to the past. Like it's not the same Berlin that maybe like people saw 15 years ago. But I think in general, like as people, we tend to be nostalgic, you know. So we are always nostalgic of what was there before. And I know that like probably people will say like yes, that it's not the Berlin it used to be, but things evolve, things change, like trends change, and at the end of the day, like if you stick to what is your vision and your core values from a music perspective, in the end you will always win. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, here you open a huge door, because basically I think that after the pandemic, after COVID, everything took a completely different turn. Also because people started to watch music on TV, watch music on recorded podcast on YouTube, for example.
Yes.
And this, I think, is also something that fucked up the music in some ways. Not only electronic music, all the music, because basically we found ourselves in a situation where the appearance, like the being behind the camera, became way more important than digging the right music and giving a vibe to the crowd, like creating actually something just because you love the music and you were looking for the perfect track to mix with the next track and so on. Now, if I have to give like a small complaint, it's that I see many wanting to become a DJ or wanting to become an artist, not knowing the history behind the music, first of all, and just to be under the spotlight. So just to show off instead of creating something that is gonna stay. And this works for the rest of the music because there is an ecosystem in music now where if you don't release something new every month, people forget about it.
Yeah.
And that's deeply stupid in my opinion because what brings that from now on we will never have like the famous and big age bands like you can talk about like Deep Purple, you can talk about like in hip hop NWA, you can talk about Snoop Dogg. Like there is not nowadays an artist like, I mean there are many, but most of them started years ago and you see their path and you see how they grew up. Now the new school, not all of it of course, like I'm not taking everyone and putting on the same belt, but I see many people being there just because of the visibility, just because of the Instagram followers numbers and stuff like that. That's something that we never wanted to have. From day one we said, because I mean it's not a secret for anyone that a lot of people are buying followers, buying views, buying listenings on SoundCloud and so on. But this is something that we never wanted because we said, okay, if we push a certain style, if we push a certain idea, the following has to come organically. Doesn't have to be like bought just because then you show up to a club and you're like, hey, I have 10,000 followers, and maybe 90% of them are like bots, writing nothing and saying nothing. And this I think is something that will change hopefully, because at the end of the day, the quality is the only thing that pays off.
Absolutely. I think like consuming music has become more important than like the overall quality, and the challenge is always like how do you mix like the need to be seen and recognized and following like the path that it's the path that everybody's following while staying true to yourself. So I think this is like a question that we've been asking in Orbit like for many times. How to be attractive without losing ourselves and our essence. And certainly like having like a nice picture, a nice image helps. I'm not gonna lie, like this is something like we've been working on, and at first we were struggling a lot because you need to have not just music vision, but also like a really like a visual identity, and that's even more important because people want to look at your profile and say, look how cool is that, and then they listen to music. So I guess like for us, like finding the right compromise between like these two aspects was the most challenging. And
media. You have to serve the social media nowadays. Like you cannot be like, okay, I'm gonna do everything by myself without any help from the social media. You're gonna die in 2 seconds. Unless you are like someone really established, like imagine the US one of the greatest DJs ever. He has no social media accounts basically, or he doesn't post anything or whatever, and he's still there. Why? Because there is the quality behind. And then you see many quick fires of new people getting like 7,000 followers in 2 months and then disappearing because there is no consistency. It's all about just partying, getting fucked, having the best life, but then where is the music at the end of the day? I mean, what I like about the scene is the less or more same thing that I dislike about the scene. And so that day after day, like more and more young people are getting interested in it, are getting into it. And that's what I was talking about before when I say that the new scene and the music that we might not like because it's not our sound, it's not how we grew up, it's not our idea of music that we want to push. But at the same time, as I've heard like in others interviews, or I'm like just quoting because it's not an idea that I had, is that basically that, let's say, bad music from our point of view is the engine and is the fuel that's gonna bring the people really into that to inform themselves, to get more into it and discover who was there before. Like, okay, this track has been done from a 20 years old guy, my same age, not mine of course, my same age, okay, but who are his inspiration, and then you go back, you know.
Yeah, you need to start from somewhere,
exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. It's the same exact thing that we did. Like probably when we were in Italy, the main names were always the same. Like we were following mostly drum code. We were following like this kind of. I mean, back in the days was another kind of music, but we're still in the commercial wave of techno. And I mean, nothing bad to say about them because they created a full genre. They create a full label around that. But okay, I listened to this DJ. He's quite famous, but who was playing before him? Who will play after him? And then you start to know, okay, but who is this guy? Oh, nice track, but who is this track? Where is this track coming from? And then you check the track, and maybe the track is from 1996. And you're like, okay, wait, how can it be so actual and so old? So I think like the bad and the goods are basically laying on the same bed. You just need to understand who is gonna stand out and who's not.
And I think also it's important. I mean, for me, like I agree. Like generally, like you tend to listen to a lot of music like throughout your life, and probably like the music that I was playing and listening to when I started was like, if I listen to it now, I'd be like, oh my god, like that's definitely not me. That's definitely not flight mode. But like the advice that I always tell to people like that approach this career like in like big, to make it for a living, but even like for fun, is always like listen as much music as possible, because like your ears like are training. It's like a muscle, So like the ears like that before like were like interested into like a type of sound, like that type of sound at some point you will find boring, and you will search for other sounds, and slowly you will develop like your ear more and more until like you get to understand, okay, this is exactly like the genre I like. So for example, like I mean, I moved here in 2019, as I said before, and the first 3 years were really like there was a little bit of somehow like I was intimidated by Berlin, because like in my idea of of someone who just moved here, like I thought that every DJ was great, everybody was playing like super amazing music, because you're the tourist that comes to Berlin to listen to techno. Then slowly like I realized that no, you can have good DJs and bad DJs, and also like there was a whole path of discovery of music in general, and also like of the music that was resonating with me the most. So I was like into electro for a while, then I was playing like happy house, then I stopped with techno completely before Orbit, and then I realized okay, I'm into like hypnotic and groovy techno. This is the music that I like to play. And also like I like a lot raw minimal, which I usually play like when with other alias, or when they book me, and that stayed, like, but that took like 5 years of like of listening to music, of practicing, of like of saying I like this, I don't like that, or maybe I like it again, until I realized what my music vision was, and that's what I brought to Orbit like on a regular basis.
Yeah, but also watching, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I started listening to electronic music, when I reached the age where I could go clubbing, I was like 15, 16 years old. I remember that I was always the one behind the DJ. After like some nights out, I was always the one behind, because I was like, how is this happening? Like,
what is he doing?
How can he mix this with the, like, why I have this weird feeling, like how the bass is not the track that I had in my mind, because I was listening to the track maybe on YouTube, and then I listened to the track played from a DJ mixed with another one, and I was like, wait, but this is not how it sounds normally. So I got more into that, and that to me has been always the magic, and that's why I also started to produce music, because I mean, you can see that you can really give your own touch to the thing, and the people is gonna notice. Like when you hear someone saying, this track is in your style, you're like, okay, then I'm making the right, I'm following the right path.
And in this, like, it's funny because like I mean, Chris, I'm not a producer, and Chris is a producer. Like I just don't have the time now to produce, to be honest. I would love to. It's something that like it's it's in the drawer, and I know that at some point I will open it, but like I didn't have yet the motivation to start. At the same time, like, you know, I think nowadays, like, you know, of course you have to produce, like producing like is the best way to be seen. At the same time, like I always think that, you know, you gotta give like equal importance to the production and the DJing without thinking that like necessarily, like, you know, you can't be a DJ if you're not a producer. I hear it a lot, you know. It's like
there are many good producers, bad DJs, and
exactly
the other way around.
Exactly. And in the end, like I really like to perform. I really like to be on stage, and like the same way that the sparkle came for me, like in the last years, to say, okay, I want to do this. Like I hope and I expect that to happen. But if it doesn't happen, then I'll just remain a DJ and I'll be happy either way.
Doesn't have to be like a must. Like, I mean, it's important because nowadays, let's talk seriously, it's too easy to DJ. Like, there are too many helps, too much technology. You can basically start and do a perfect 1 hour set without a single mistake and so on, even if you've never touched like a controller or whatever. Like, there are so many helps around it. To me, the important is do not sleep on that. Like, I mean, mistakes are fine. I don't get mad if I make a mistake during a set in a club, can happen. And I'm happy also when I hear mistakes from other artists, because I'm like, okay, he's playing.
It makes them feel human.
No,
you know?
he's
like
playing. He's actually doing something, because it's too easy to put like, you know, everything goes alone, a pre-recorded set, you're amazing, you raise your hand and everyone is happy. That's fine. And that's why I also pretty late, because of the cost, was not able back in the days, but I started to, you know, collect some vinyls and I bought 2 turntables, super shitty quality. I won't say the brand, not Technics. And I wanted to learn what's behind. I mean, I'm not doing gigs on vinyl because I don't feel ready, and probably I will never do, or maybe yes, who knows. But it's because I wanted to learn a skill that, in my opinion, it's really important for a DJ. Like, what does it mean create a vibe and put 2 records in beat matching without any, you know, waveform help or BPM help, like all about your ears. And that to me is super important, because it helps you a lot in the DJ set with the CDJs, and it helps you a lot also in production, because you know what has to come when, because it's like pretty mathematical sometimes.
And I think there is also a little bit of, you know, there is the expectations from the crowd, and there is expectations like behind the booth. You know, like what I realized like over the years is that like it comes a time where like you don't have to just fulfill the expectations of the people that are in front of you, but also of the people you play with. You know, like and like you know, there are some like unsaid things or like things that you must know or you must do that like you cannot escape. For example, like being able to play records. For example, not syncing. You know, like no one will ever come and tell you you're syncing, but you know that everybody will look at you, and if you're doing it, like you're not gonna be seen like right. And sometimes, to be honest with you, I like, especially at the beginning, I felt a little bit the pressure, especially when I was like with bigger bookings, with the bigger artists. You're like, I'm not just playing for the crowd, I'm playing for him, you know, or for her. For like the artists that I respect, and I know that it's like at a higher level than mine. So there is always like, okay, what's my level? You know, where am I at? Like, am I at that level? Am I at a lower level? And if so, like, what should I do to change it? And this was, I think, also part of growth of being like playing regularly, which helped a lot. You know, like if you play like constantly, like on a bigger stage, you start, you know, being risking more. You know that the speaker at home doesn't hear the same way like of a big like function one, for example. You know, so that has definitely like helped me, you know, overcome some fears, some worries, also about myself. You know, about how I am perceived by the crowd. Because at the end of the day, and this is like something that I try to remember every time, I'm not playing for myself, you know, like I'm playing for the crowd, and like I get angry and annoyed when I realize that there are some people that are playing mostly for themselves. So they experiment way too much. They play tracks that maybe like you can clearly say that you want to play it because like you want to be a diva, but not because you think that this track is gonna work.
The main tracks, like in my opinion, like a good DJ set has to have also not bad tracks, but tracks that are not giving the people the same feeling of like a dance floor hitter or a dance floor destroyer. And jumping on that, it's super important, like read the situation. Because of course we have like our friends following us, they've been listening to us like many times, and we made them dance a lot, maybe with closing set. But if you have an opening set, you cannot go there with the closing set and starting with 140, 145 BPM just because you want people going crazy. That's not your job. Like, I mean, maybe you can make some handful of people happy because they were expecting this from you, because they listened to you last time. But at the end of the day, in the general vision, you're not someone that is doing a good job as a DJ. Because like the opening set has to be something, bringing the situation to the next one and to the next one and so on.
There is a famous quote of Divas One that about the guy that opens, that says like the opener like is not playing what you want, he's playing what you need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing what I want, but I'm playing what you need, which is true. In the end, everybody's good to put like faster music that makes everybody dance, but the feeling of entering the stage, getting used, to being in the club and and having a drink and slowly hearing the music flowing in.
How sad it is like to push a bomb track with an empty dance floor. We have been there.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Maybe closing with the people who are going away, or in half-empty clubs.
But
those are the situations where you learn more, because when you push like super fast and groovy techno with an empty dance floor is in my opinion, one of the most sad things for myself ever.
And I think actually the opening is I said before that you have to play for the crowd, but I think the opening set is the only part where you really have to forget about it, because if you play for the crowd, you start looking at there is nobody, and you immediately will think, okay, I'm gonna put the BPM up because I want the people to dance, and that is the only moment where I'm like, no, you need to build a flow, you need to build a story, and the story maybe people will not get it at the beginning, but they will get it at the end, which is when the other DJs will start.
The story cannot start with a conclusion.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the conclusion. I guess. We are very grateful. We always super supportive of collectives that are trying to do something new, something different, because we've been there, and having the support from other collectives that maybe are a little bit ahead is important. So we really like the vibe here. We enjoyed playing. We've been very well treated, we are very happy to be invited, and we are supportive of some of the thing that SPHYNXCAST is trying to build. So shout out to that, and I'm sure that you guys with more time you will get further and further, and that's my hope and my good luck.
Also for the effort that we see from not so many people, we know how hard it is to follow all the streaming podcast release, and now with the interviews, big applause, because that's really well done. I played here in SPHYNXCAST a couple of times. The first invited from the main podcast, the second as a guest podcast. And both of the time I had so much fun. I met a lot of interesting people. The vibe is really good, and that's where the happiness lays in electronic music to me. I can't stand anymore the divas feeling of what was going on nowadays, because we being in this world, we went through many situations where we saw that everything was not so much genuine as I've seen it here. Everything was more about the numbers and not about the quality, the connection, the relationship with the people that you invite and you meet, and that to me is like a big plus of the podcast, and overall the whole project, and also the place is amazing.